Now, one of the poets included in your book, not surprisingly, I would say, is Emily Dickinson, and I know that's she is one of your favorite poets as well. We have a reading of one of her poems, one of the poems that is included in the book. Wanted to listen to that and then talk a little bit about this poem in particular. It is Because I Could Not Stop for Death, and this will be read by the actress Julie Harris. Let's hear that now.
Because I could not stop for death, he kindly stopped for me. The carriage held but just ourselves and immortality. We slowly drove, he knew no haste, and I had put away my labor and my leisure too for his civility. We passed the school where children played at wrestling in a ring. We passed the fields of gazing grain. We passed the setting sun. We paused before a house that seemed a swelling of the ground. The roof was scarcely visible, the cornice but a mound. Since then, 'tis centuries, and yet feels shorter than the day I first surmised the horses' heads were toward eternity.
That was the actress Julie Harris reading Because I Could Not Stop for Death by Emily Dickinson. That's one of the poems that's included in Camille Paglia's new book, Break, Blow, and Burn. Ms. Paglia, why is this one of the poems, and why is Emily Dickinson one of the poets included in your book?
Well, I've been obsessed with Emily Dickinson since college. In the 1960s, we definitely were the first generation to have the benefit of the great Harvard editions of Dickinson's work that were published in the 1950s. For the first time, thanks to the scholar Thomas H. Johnson, we were able to see the poems exactly as Dickinson had left them, with her odd dashes and her capitalizations, with her dissonant off rhymes and all her anticipations of jazz rhythms. The great Emily Dickinson boom following her death in the 1890s was based on doctored poetry, a lot of namby-pamby stuff that her family put out. Her poems were forced to conventionally rhyme and so on. So all of the incongruities and the disturbances, the eerie disturbances in Dickinson had been purged out of her. I did my senior thesis on her in college, and there's a whole chapter about her in my book, Sexual Persona, where I call her Amherst Madame de Sade. I think that people sentimentalize her. She wasn't just this like poor dear wren of a creature who was pining for some man who abandoned her. I mean, this was a formidable mind, a kind of scientific mind. So the poems I chose are not favorites of mine, but they work very well in the classroom. They've been tested through many years of classroom teaching. But beyond that, Because I Could Not Stop for Death is an amazing creation. It's there's this chatty, conventional woman, an adult woman, who's suddenly caught unaware by death, who comes to her door. She mistakes him for a gentleman caller, and so she goes gladly with him into a carriage. And instead of having just a nice little roundabout around the town plaza, they're heading for the countryside. Now, right there's a problem. She's being kidnapped, and she has to sort of say farewell to everything that she recognizes, all the known world, until she suddenly realizes that she is in the throes of death, and that he is a murderer. He is a rapist. She will be seduced and abandoned, just dropped with a thump into the grave at the end of this poem. So at the very end, we have this sense of terror as she and we face the fact of this, of immortality, of eternity, and of the extinction of consciousness.